Hey guys, it's Brad. Well, welcome to my town in Italy, Montepulciano. We're here just outside of town. The road you see behind me, these are called white roads. So they're just white gravel roads. They're public roads. This one actually is where the water main runs all the way out to these farms that seem like they're out in the middle of nowhere, but they all are on city water. So I'm out here and I wanted to do a video that's a little different because I figure maybe you guys are a little tired of every week. Here's a house, here's a house, here's a house, here's a house. And there's a lot more going on in looking at real estate than just seeing a house that's for sale. And what I wanted to do today was to show you some properties that over the last 2+ years we've looked at and had to pass on for various reasons. And we'll get into those reasons as I show you from house to house. So I hope you find this interesting. We'll actually be going to the houses, or I'll be showing you videos that I had taken for myself when Olivia and I had walked the houses and were trying to make an offer. And these weren't things we just went and saw one day. All of these houses were things that we were actively interested in buying, actively interested in making an offer on. Brought in geometra, or our architect, or a technician, what they call a technician, to check out various things of the house. And then something blew up all of them. And I don't know if this is just how it is here for everybody, or am I the most unlucky guy in the world? Because we still haven't bought a house here yet. We haven't found not only exactly what we want, but even something kind of like what we want that didn't have some sort of fatal flaw. So maybe that'll be the title of this video, Fatal Flaws in Italian Real Estate. Before we do that, I want to talk about something that is super important that just came up this week. If you don't want to hear something super important that's going to affect the price, what you're paying in Italy a lot, go to the timestamp and you can go ahead and start seeing the houses that we've had to pass on. Because of what's going on economically in the US, because of the tariffs, in the last 3 months, the cost of the US dollar versus the euro has changed dramatically. And I had mentioned this in a video about 6 months ago, that the euro was at a very low point against the dollar. I believe in that video, it was about 102. In mid-January this year, it was also at 102. Great time, if you're using the US dollar, to buy properties here in Italy. Well, what's happened recently, especially in the last 7 or 8 days, and I'm filming this on April 12th, 2025, is the dollar has dropped against the euro. It is now down 9% against the euro, the US dollar, in just 90 days, most of it happening just since the tariffs went into effect last week, and now have been somewhat canceled, and that's actually the problem. They're on, they're off, they're on, they're off. It's all a big kerduffle. No one knows what's going on, and it's breaking confidence in the dollar. What does that mean to you? What that means to you is your 300,000 euro home is now about 330,000 euros. Your $4,000 notary charge is now an extra $400 more. It's a big deal. You really need to be watching the exchange rate. If I could know what was going to happen with the exchange rate, I wouldn't be on Brad's World. I would be a Forex trader with Goldman Sachs. But I'm not, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I do know if this craziness with what's going on with tariffs and everything continues, it's not going to help the dollar. People are going to be selling out of the dollar, and that will probably push it down. That's what's already been happening. So pay close attention to the Forex market. I always just go on CNBC. On the top banner bar, you can click on FX, that's short for Forex, and you can see the US dollar to the euro and see what's going on. It is just as important as what's happening with your 401k or your stock account and how that may be going down and then back up and then back down. You watch that, I'm sure. You need to watch the foreign exchange. It's super important. Maybe if you're for sure you're going to buy something and you see a good dip where the euro's getting back to 103, 104, 105, you go ahead and transfer part of the money that you're going to use here into an account that you've already set up in a bank here, and go ahead and put it into euros as a hedge against when you actually do buy something in 2 months or 5 months or even a year from now. All up to you. I don't really care what you do. All I care about is you have the best information. That is super important to me. All right, so let's go see all these big misses that Oli and I had for looking at these houses, and I hope you find it interesting, all right? Ciao from Montepulciano. To me, it's kind of sad. Such a grand house could be so special. And it's just sitting here year after year, disintegrating. (3,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms, 6 baths. And it has about a hectare of land, about 2 US acres. And it's very close to the city. Hey guys, so this is one of the houses that we looked at. It was about 2 years ago. Nothing at all has changed here in the last 2 years. It was an auction house, and we had seen it in maybe March or April, and it was going to come up to auction sometime around the end of August. So we looked into it. Our agent's very well connected here. She talked to her husband, who's even better connected here with the city, what's going on. There was some legal issues with the owner, who was quite elderly, getting up on 3 digits. And the family didn't want to come up with the cash to pay something, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, someone had the rights to send it to auction. After messing around for about 2 months, getting in to see it, because no one's here, it's just sitting here empty. The day of the auction, they just pulled it off the market, and it's been sitting here just like this ever since. So we kind of just washed our hands on this one. And that was the story of this house. So this house is interesting story. It's about 3,000 square feet a house. It's completely empty on the inside. You can see some shutters on it, but it's basically a shell. And the owner has redone the structure, the shell of the house, but inside it's just all open. And you're going to have to go in and fix it all up. Now, it was on the market when we looked at it over a year ago for around $600,000. I think they've actually raised it now, even though it hasn't sold. It comes with some land, but it's not this. It's not the grapevines in front. It's the land back behind, and they planted like 300 olive trees on that land. The reason we walked away was, you see that it's 2 stories. The lower story, you cannot rebuild the inside of that into living space for 15 years. Why? Because originally the house was only lived in the upper part. And for them to get the rights to rebuild it, the city made them sign a contract that said no one would live in the downstairs for 15 years, for whatever that solves. It seems so silly to me. But if you're going to have to redo 3,000 square feet, about 300 square meters, and put in the walls and the plumbing and the electrical and all the fixtures, all of that, that's going to cost you about 1,200 to 1,400 euros per square meter. So you're talking about another minimum 300,000 euros to finish it up. And so we just didn't think that that it was worth the hassle. And absolutely, if you had to wait 15 years to use your downstairs, it wouldn't be worth it. But that's the kind of silliness that you can sometimes get into here. The city absolutely has their hands very firmly inside the cookie jar. Just because we haven't bought our personal property yet doesn't mean you can't come and stay with us at one of our 4 17th century apartments that we fully remodeled here in Montepulciano. Go to TuscanPalace.com, and we look forward to seeing you here soon. Now, this property is amazing, but needs a ton of work. But the issue is there's a number of houses on the property. One of them was built completely without permits, and the city is now demanding that it gets taken down. And the house is in good shape. It's this house. Completely taken down to the ground, and the landscape put back the way it was naturally. Then you come through another gate, and there's two more houses, which are both legal, but there was a lot of additional building going on. Inside, the property is pretty amazing, but it's dated to how things were built and decorated about 40 years ago. But look at the size of this fireplace with Olivia standing in it. Amazing. And then there's this incredible underground cantina-like wine room. You go through a steel door, which is open here, but that's a steel door you're going through. And there's shelving for 1,500 bottles of wine. A lot of them are still in here, probably from when they redid the house, because a lot of these bottles are dated from the early 70s. Inside the homes, it's really nice. But again, we got to the point where we made an offer, and then instead of answering the offer, they pulled the house off the market. That's the little kitchen over there. We would take that out and open up the whole room. This is like the guest house. Instead of answering our offer, they pulled it off the market. Now they're going to have to redo all the things that the city wants them to do and then put it back on the market again. And this has been on the market for a couple years already. But that's the problem. Then you make an offer, and then after a couple years, they just pull it, and now it'll be at least another year before all that work gets done. And it has to be done before the city, look at this fireplace, isn't that amazing? Before the city will approve a sale. So it's just frozen now, probably well into 2026. It's a nice place. Absolutely nothing wrong with it other than, the green Formica countertops and needs to be updated. Look how thick the walls are, like always. It's amazing. The kitchen's weird because it's kind of in two different parts. There's like a cooking center and then the other part, but the view's phenomenal. But we're not buying it this year. Well, hey guys, for the last two houses, I just came home. We're back at my little rental house. Always a great option. You can rent your first year or two if you're going to move to Italy full-time or even part-time. You can do a long-term rental. It's really inexpensive and live in it half the time. But we have ours. It's 8,400 euros a year for our rent. And I'm walking through my olive grove right now in the front yard. I just bought a riding mower. I'm so excited because I have about 1.5 acres of grass to cut, including in here. So I get that next week, an Italian riding mower. I want to tell you about two more houses, but I can't really show the houses because I don't want to have issues. This is a small town. One house was very nice. It was built in 1960, but when they built the house, they built it a little too tall. And the city had worked with the family to make corrections over the years, but they would never do it. There was also an additional room on the house that didn't belong there. When we found out that the owner was maybe interested in selling, we went to talk with him. And he said, well, what do you want to offer me for it? And I said, well, what do you want for the house? And this went on for months. I'm not going to make an offer, just raw offer on somebody's house. Well, finally it got to the point where I just said, $650. He went ballistic. $650? How dare you offer it? That was the problem. I knew that was going to happen the whole time. So that one we just trashed. I was just done at that point. There was another house that was actually very nice. It had a room underneath, like it could be a wine room. It was like the cantina, but it was set up beautiful. If you could have made it into a Gothic dining room, and it had 15-foot barrel ceilings, and it had ante rooms. You could have put in wine storage, and it had an in-law freestanding cottage on the property. Unfortunately, about 20 years ago when they did a remodel, they took out 2 of the 3 main support structures in the house to make more room. Some architect had told the owner that that was okay. Well, now the roof is collapsing, and it was just a big mess, and it would have been so many hundreds of thousands of euros to correct that we had to walk and pass on that one too. So that seems to be the main 2 things that happen here, and you need to be thinking about and checking. One is problems with the city, and are they going to hold up the sale? Because here, they'll just hold up the sale. The sale will not go through until the city is satisfied. That's a huge issue. But you need a good geometra, a good architect to make sure you check everything really well here, because things do have problems here. And if it's not that, One house we looked at had 18 owners because the owner had died and it got left to the whole family. So you had 18 equal partners that had to decide on everything. That's actually quite common here. So do all your homework. I hope you have better luck buying something quicker than we've gotten done. But in the meantime, we have our nice ranch farm that we live on, and we're very happy here. So we hope to see you guys soon. And thanks a lot for subscribing, since Oldie's not here to remind me to say that. And we'll see you guys next time on Brad's World. Ciao.